Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Remember when Louis C.K. was canceled? Yeah, well, he sent an email blast to fans, his first in nearly a year, and writes, "For those of you wondering what I've been doing, I've taken up sculpture, clay and stone, and drawing with charcoal. I've written a novel, and I'm working on a second. That about wraps it up on me." No details on the novels or the artwork. He then went to speak about Adrienne Iapalucci's special. He referred to her as truly one of my favorite comedians. She has opened for him at Madison Square Garden. CK directed her new stand-up special, The Dark Queen. CK writes, "You may remember Adrienne if you came to see me on tour the past 3 years, and she opened for me at MSG in January of 23. Adrienne was astonishing on that show. I've heard far more people comment on how hilarious and unique and compelling she was than anything about myself, and for good reason. The crowd at the Garden loved Adrienne, who has had little to no notoriety, who is a humble to a fault self-anthrope, who has a granite real genuinity," Louis, you're killing me with the thesaurus, "and a sharp, guttural, hysterically funny, comedic voice." That was rough copy, Louis. By the way, she's not going to be unknown anymore. Netflix special, and more importantly, an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, which I haven't had a chance to listen to. Joe's been pumping out a lot of content. I'm still in the Tim Dillon episode. I got to listen to Theo. Now Adrienne. CK shared the taping process for that special, which happened at the Comedy Cellar as part of a 3-show outing on the same night. And Louis says the first show was horrible. I mean, it was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. It wasn't a horrible performance. Adrienne was great, but something happened with that audience. They were not into it. The production team and I watched incredulously as Adrienne hung in there and did her very best for an entire hour of hostile silence. She stayed in her act, in herself, and she took incredible punishment. That first crowd never gave, never cracked. They left the room as miserably as they had entered it. Adrienne met the second crowd with a determination that said, "I finally have a chance to do something this world has told me over and over again I'm not cool enough to do, and whoever you effing people are, you're not taking this away from me." This gorgeous resolve, happily, joyfully, was met by a willing, giving, cheerful bunch of people who, like anyone who sees Adrienne's true self, fell in love with her and enjoyed every single joke, story, and observation she shared. She delivered a great show, and it's on Netflix now. If you want to hear an interview, I had Adrienne on the show. It's probably 2 years ago, maybe only a year ago. It was a while. If you go back long enough in the feed, you'll find my interview with her. I didn't find her to be particularly chatty. I'm by no means the best interviewer, but I just felt like I was getting nothing back there. And I'll tell you, I cut like 20 minutes out of the interview just for pacing. That was a rough one. I do like her comedy. I don't want you guys to think like, you've hated on her 2 days in a row. I'm just telling you. Well, I spoke about the special yesterday. You can hear my words. And now I'm telling you what went down with the interview. And I really cut that one back. I was getting nothing back from her. And again, maybe it's because I suck, which is fine. I'm happy to suck. Louis said, "She's just funny, and she has only one point of view. You're all full of crap," and we are. I certainly am. And so are you. We are all full of crap, all caps. If there's one thing the human race is learning at a geometric rate, it's that we all kind of really suck, all of us. No one is better than anyone. We're all Byzantine baboons, crapping into our hands and throwing it into each other's sanctimonious faces. CK writes that he's highly encouraged by Netflix having bought the special, especially for an anti-algorithmic woman from the Bronx. I hope that you all remember the question of what is being fed to you into your screen and your palm without your input. Work around the algorithm. Go looking for what it isn't showing you and share it with your friends. That is so much better than being shared with by a robot. I got news for Louis. I turned on Netflix, and the big box that tells you what to watch tonight, it was showing me Adrienne. So perhaps the algorithm isn't that evil, but I hear you. I know what you're saying. Sometimes there'll be a new special and I'm like, they're not even showing it to me. It's not in the stand-up carousel and I have to actually type in what I'm looking for. So I hear you, Louis. Jim Gaffigan, whose new special is called The Skinny, is now talking about his weight loss. Funny how that happens. We'll have a lot of Jim Gaffigan press over the next 2 weeks, 1 week. Yeah, 1 week. Jim is like America's comic. He's a friendly guy. He plays well to all corners of the comedy universe. The cool kids at the Cellar like Jim. Middle America likes Jim. Why wouldn't you interview Jim? And Jim is happy to talk. So get ready for Johnny Mac telling you Jim Gaffigan stories daily for about 2 weeks, which is fine because we're getting towards the end of the year and I need stuff to talk about. Jim spoke to Us Weekly about his weight loss, and I mentioned that his special is called Skinny. Jim said he had taken the medication Mounjaro. Jim said, "I was so paranoid that I was going to be nauseous that I kind of put it off, but then it kind of worked." It's weird because we live in this society where people who eat too much are told that they just don't have any self-control. There are people that just have no off button to eat, right? Jim says he finds it really fascinating how people seem to have less sympathy for people who struggle with too much eating versus other types of addictions. Jim said, I would eat when I was hungry, and I would eat when I was happy, and I would eat when I was sad, and I would just eat. It was my reward. It was obviously personal, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But then again, anonymity is a thing surrounding a lot of struggles like that. Is this like us going back now and noticing John Mulaney was telling us that he was on drugs? Because Jim Gaffigan, I don't know if you know this, has a lot of jokes about food. Jim says, I'm kind of like a square Midwesterner. I'll never look super thin. He says he was probably 270 pounds when he decided to try Manjaro. We're a country that's struggling with the obesity epidemic, and then there are these appetite suppressants that do wonders. So the skinny is a bit about processing society's take on that. That GQ profile of John Mulaney, I've shared it in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group, revealed that they're working on 12 episodes of Everybody's in LA, or whatever the new version of that is. Maybe it's in LA, maybe it's not, maybe it's something else, who knows? Netflix Chief Content Officer Bella Baharia said, I'm really excited about it. During Netflix's A Joke Festival, Mulaney did a live talk show called Everybody's in LA, and I was there at a couple of the tapings, and it was just so bold and original and fresh and then unpredictable. And I think it'll be really fun to do a live show with him. I think there will be tremendous buzz when that thing comes out. Mulaney is probably at his peak right now, and I'm not saying he can't peak for another 30 years, but he's peaking right now. Have I not told you how much fun it is to root against Aaron Rodgers? Do you not listen to me? Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports, and I'll add, rooting against Aaron Rodgers like I do. I can't stand the Jets. They can't be miserable enough, and it's been a great season for Jet hating. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances, or say your least favorite athletes' performances. Now, I don't really hate Aaron Rodgers, the dude. I just hate the Jets, and he's the quarterback of the Jets. I got the app open right now. Aaron Rodgers, 232.5 passing yards, higher or lower. What do you think I'm going to pick? Lower. Call your shot by picking higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats. Underdogs for everyone. You can make a play with only $1 or go big and win up to 1,000 times your money. Download the app today and use code DCN to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Download the app today and use code DCN to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7-HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Download the app today and use code DCN to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Sarah Sherman is getting a show. She'll be on Human vs. Hamster, which somehow is not on Netflix. This will be on Max. On Human vs. Hamster, 10 extraordinary hamsters face off against teams of humans in the ultimate showdown, housed inside an epic hamster's playground. Seen through a child's lens, our human contenders and remarkable hamsters battle it out in a series of wacky challenges to determine which species is superior. Can't wait for that one. Ralph Barbosa has a new special with Hulu. This also, much like Joe Mandy, doesn't appear to be part of the Hularious brand, but I don't know because nobody at Hulu will get back to me. I have tagged publicists on LinkedIn. I have emailed through the front door. I have tagged them on Threads. I have tagged them on Twitter. No one at Hulu will get back to me. I know I'm not Joe Rogan, but guys, this is your target audience. Someone get back to me at Hulu. So is Ralph Barbosa part of Hularious? I don't know. How would I know? Untitled Special will launch on Hulu at a date TBD. Greg Proops has an album out today. Yes, an album. So I'm going to support him for a Grammy next year. Purple Shasta Raccoon out on A Special Things Records, recorded at the Punchline in San Francisco. Greg Proops took the stage on New Year's Eve for a third year in a row. He gave takes on Texas and the Alamo, Florida, Wisconsin, HR Puff and Stuff is done by Cormac McCarthy, and much more. Now, if you're listening yesterday, you heard me struggle with the New York Comedy Festival website. So let's start with the Flyover Comedy Festival, because they have a better website game. They know what they're doing. They have a nice grid, and their website actually loads. The Flyover Comedy Festival in St. Louis. They even put the headliners in bigger fonts. Patton Oswalt and Tig Notaro. One show. I didn't realize that was one show. Wow, that's pretty good. That's at 8 o'clock at the Steel Theater. So who headlines there? Does Tig headline over Patton? Interesting. The Sklar Brothers have a late show. Tag It with the Sklar Brothers. They're the headliners tomorrow. That's the Flyover Comedy Festival. All right, let's struggle through the New York Comedy Festival's website, which doesn't load and is in chronological order. Who's playing on a Friday night in the big city? Tracy Morgan at 7 o'clock. If I remember correctly, that is recommended that you go see by friend of the show, Jason Zinneman. Oh, I have a Jason story to tell you in a second. Let's focus, John. Stay here. Ask Cat, presented by the New York Comedy Festival. That's the UCB at 7 o'clock at UCB. Always a good show, the Ask Cat show. Zoltan Kaza, Sleep When I'm Dead at the Gramercy at 7. The wonderfully titled Jared Goldstein Does an Hour. I love it. Union Hall, 7:30. Adam Ray is Dr. Phil Live at the Beacon at 8. Gabe Iglesias, Don't Worry Be Fluffy, King's Theater. That's Brooklyn, 8 o'clock. Don't Tell Comedy at 8 o'clock. Where's the show? They don't tell you. That's how Don't Tell Comedy works. At the Stand at 8 o'clock, Comics to Watch. Who were the comics to watch? Apparently, Aldo Campana, Andy Aloise, Bo Wilcox, Brittany Brave, Corey Yaskowitz, Eric Freddy, Gary Simons, Keegan Tyndall, Ketra Long, Lisa Chanot, Lucas Arnold, Nick Reynoldson, Olivia Hill, Salma Zaki, Tata Charisse, and Xavier Phillips. Now, I by no means am in the comedy clubs like maybe I was a little bit younger. Not at all. I don't know one of those names. So if I were in town, I would go see that show and educate myself. That's always my advice. Like, you know what Gabe Iglesias is going to do. That's not a good use of the comedy festival. Go see Comics to Watch at the Stand at 8 o'clock. Live taping of How Did This Get Made at Town Hall at 9:45. Again, nothing against that show or those guys, but bad use of a festival. Like, you could go see all these comedians. You're going to go see a podcast taping for an hour? Just listen to it next week. That's a bad use of your time. Comics to Watch does another show at 10, and that's your Friday night in the big city. Again, this does not have the star power that previous festivals have had, and I keep saying this. Love the festival. They've been nothing good to me. I'm doing show prep here every day, and I'm typing New York Comedy Festival into Google, and nothing coming up. There's just no buzz on this thing. It's the strangest thing every year, because on paper, it's great. In reality, it's invisible. Oh yeah, Gilbert Gottfried. He's got an album out today. Now, the press keeps calling it Gilbert Gottfried's first comedy album, but here's the thing. He's got an album. It's called Dirty Jokes. I was playing it on Sirius Radio for years. I play it every time there's a Gilbert story, and I talk about it on my show on Live One, the free app. My show is called The Weekly Comedy Thing. The show's free. The app is free. But anytime I talk about Gilbert, I have been pulling from the album Dirty Jokes. I see two dates here. It either came out in 2003 or 2005, but it exists. So I asked friend of the show, Jason Zinneman, on Threads. And by the way, follow me on Threads. Threads has a good comedy community. I'm getting much more engagement over there than I ever did on Twitter. Friend of the show, Jason Zinneman of the New York Times. I asked him, what am I missing here? Why are they calling this the first album? Clearly, Dirty Jokes exist. Jason hit me back and wrote, you nailed it. Respect the hustle. I mean, basically, they took material from that doc, which wasn't meant to be an album, and called it one. But, you know, the more Gilbert, the better. I agree. So I saw on the New York Comedy Festival website, which drives me nuts, I saw them refer to it as Gilbert's first vinyl release. Maybe this is the first album, and the other thing was a CD. Maybe we're getting a little Clinton here. It depends on what the definition of is. Depends on what your definition of an album is. I don't know. Anyway, Gilbert's got a thing out today. All right, I've probably made enough people mad. I'm going to go crawl back into my little box in the basement and hide out and see who's mad at me. If you hate the show, flame me on social media. Just include the link to either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That helps grow the show so more people can hate it. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to the new podcast, 5 Minutes of Death, where we explore the profound mysteries of mortality with an open heart and curious mind. I'm Olivia, and I'll be your guide as we travel from ancient wisdom traditions to modern near-death experiences and sacred burial rituals to transformative spiritual practices. We're diving deep into humanity's greatest contemplation. Think conversations about death have to be heavy? Think again. So join me for 5 Minutes of Death, because understanding death isn't just about endings, it's about discovering the infinite within the finite. 5 Minutes of Death, available wherever you get your podcasts.